Chosen one, some rescues don't make noise. No warnings, no explanations. Just sudden distance, sudden silence, sudden endings that never fully made sense. One moment you were inside the storm, the next you were outside of it, breathing again, confused, wondering why everything changed without your permission. You didn't hear a siren, you didn't see a sign, but something moved you. Quietly, precisely, on purpose. Chosen one, I know you've replayed those moments in your mind. The relationships that dissolved, the plans that collapsed, the doors that shut without a goodbye. You told yourself you walked away. You convinced yourself it was your decision. But deep down, your spirit has always known something else was at work. And chosen one, before we go deeper, pause for a moment, hit subscribe, and comment "I receive" if your spirit is already responding, because this message is about to speak directly to you, not by chance, but by calling. There were battles you never saw, conversations that happened in realms you don't remember, paths you were seconds away from stepping into that would have cost you your peace, your purpose, maybe even your soul. Heaven didn't explain itself because explanation would have slowed the rescue. So instead, you were gently removed, redirected, covered, protected, without being told. This is why your life feels fragmented sometimes. Why you've carried guilt over endings you couldn't explain. Why you've questioned your discernment, your strength, even your sanity. But chosen one, confusion was not a failure. It was camouflage. While you were doubting yourself, divine hands were investigating outcomes, measuring timelines, and pulling you back just before irreversible damage. You weren't weak. You weren't rejected. You weren't late. You were rescued. What saved you wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't announce itself. It was silent intervention, precision mercy disguised as loss. And now at this exact moment, this message didn't randomly appear in your life. You didn't scroll into it. You didn't stumble upon it. It was delivered. Because you're finally far enough from the danger to understand the truth, and close enough to your destiny to receive what's about to be revealed next. Chosen one, not every rescue is meant to be understood in the moment. Some are not announced, some are not explained, some arrive without language at all. They arrive as removal. One day you are there, attached, invested, hopeful, trying to make sense of something that already feels heavy. And the next day you are no longer there. No dramatic collapse, no clear reason, just distance, just separation, just a quiet shift that leaves you staring at the ceiling, asking yourself, why did this end the way it did? This is because divine protection does not always come with clarity. Sometimes clarity would actually put you back in danger. Heaven knows when understanding would tempt you to return, to justify, to rationalize what your soul was already being warned about. So instead of explanation, you were given safety. Instead of answers, you were given escape. Ask yourself, if you had known everything back then, would you have stayed longer? Would you have tried to fix what was never meant to be fixed? Chosen one, divine protection always prioritizes preservation over comfort. It does not wait until harm becomes obvious. It intervenes while danger is still forming, while attachment is still growing, while hope is still blinding discernment. That's why you were moved before things turned destructive, before your identity became entangled, before your spirit learned to tolerate what it was never designed to carry. This wasn't punishment. This was mercy disguised as loss. And yes, the silence hurt. The lack of closure unsettled you. The unanswered questions echoed loudly in your quiet moments. But that silence was not neglect. It was precision. Heaven was careful not to give you just enough information to reopen the door. You weren't abandoned. You were protected from your own empathy, your loyalty, your tendency to overgive. Does it make sense now why the ending felt sudden, almost unreal? Sometimes heaven chooses distance instead of confrontation, because confrontation would have required you to fight battles you were never meant to fight. Distance was cleaner, safer, final. You didn't need to argue. You didn't need to prove anything. You didn't need to defend your worth. You were simply removed. And that removal preserved your peace long before you realized you needed it. Chosen one, the confusion you felt afterward was part of the rescue. Confusion kept you from running back. Confusion slowed your emotions until your spirit could catch up. And now, standing where you are today, you can finally see it. Not clearly yet, but enough to feel it in your chest. Something darker was forming behind the scenes. Something misaligned. Something that would have cost you more than it gave. So let me ask you gently, what if the ending you grieved was actually the protection you prayed for? What if the silence was heaven saying, "I've already handled this for you"? And what if this quiet rescue was proof that you are far more guided than you've ever been told? Stay with me, chosen one, because what you're about to understand next will change how you view every ending you once blamed yourself for. Chosen one, there are moments when guidance doesn't arrive as a thought. It arrives as a pull, a quiet, undeniable movement inside you that doesn't come with reasons, bullet points, or explanations. It doesn't argue its case. It simply says, move. And even when your mind asks for proof, your spirit has already decided. You felt it, didn't you? That inner nudge that made no logical sense, yet carried a weight you couldn't ignore. Why would something so unclear feel so certain? This is because intuition speaks a different language than logic. Logic asks for evidence. Intuition recognizes energy. Before your mind could agree, your body responded. Your chest tightened, your stomach shifted, your sleep changed. You felt unsettled in places that once felt familiar. These reactions weren't anxiety, they were intelligence. Spiritual intelligence moving faster than thought. Ask yourself, how many times did your body react before you understood why? There were moments you couldn't explain to anyone. No convincing story, no dramatic reason, just a knowing. You obeyed without applause, without validation, without certainty. And that obedience felt lonely at times, because when intuition leads, it rarely asks for permission. It asks for trust. Chosen one, have you noticed how the most important moves you made in life were the ones you couldn't fully explain afterward? This is because intuition is not emotional impulse. It is divine communication filtered through your awareness. Emotion is loud, reactive, urgent. Intuition is calm, steady, and persistent. It doesn't rush you, but it doesn't leave you alone either. It repeats itself gently until you listen. And when danger is near, especially subtle danger, guidance bypasses logic entirely. Logic would debate. Logic would delay. Intuition moves you out before the threat fully reveals itself. That's why some of your exits felt abrupt, why you couldn't think it through properly. Heaven didn't give you time to negotiate with your doubts. You were guided around the fire, not through it. And afterward, when you tried to justify your decision, words failed you. But safety didn't. Peace didn't. Distance brought clarity slowly, like dawn after a long night. Learning to honor what you felt, even when you couldn't justify it, is part of your spiritual maturity. It means trusting that not everything meant for your protection needs your understanding. Chosen one, what if your intuition has never betrayed you, but your mind just struggled to catch up? What if the moments you question yourself were actually moments you were being led most accurately? Sit with that, because the more you learn to listen to that quiet inner voice, the less explanation you'll need from the outside world. And the next time that pull rises within you, you won't resist it. You'll recognize it as guidance speaking in its purest form. Chosen one, some of the greatest protection in your life happened while you weren't paying attention. Not because you were careless, but because you didn't need to be alert for what was already being handled. There were unseen hands adjusting your path quietly, gently shifting circumstances, altering timing, rearranging outcomes while you were simply living your life. You thought you were choosing, you thought you were late, you thought you missed something. But in truth, something was moving you, with precision, not force. Think back to the moments you were delayed for no clear reason. The meeting that got canceled, the message that didn't send, the road you didn't take, the opportunity that slipped away at the last second. At the time, it felt frustrating, even disappointing. You may have questioned your luck, your focus, or your discipline. But what if those delays weren't obstacles? What if they were buffers? What if being slowed down was the only way to keep you from colliding with something unseen? Chosen one, protection often wears a disguise of inconvenience. It feels like interruption, like misalignment, like wasted time. But divine protection rarely announces itself with comfort. It interrupts momentum before the momentum turns into momentum toward harm. That's why you were distracted at the wrong moment. That's why your attention shifted just enough to change the outcome. Heaven doesn't always stop the danger, it reroutes you. And here's the part your mind struggles with most. You didn't need to know what you were being saved from. Knowing would have haunted you. Knowing might have created fear, regret, or attachment to an alternate reality. Instead, you were spared the image, spared the trauma, spared the weight of carrying knowledge you didn't need to survive. Does it make sense now why some answers never came? There is grace in being covered while unaware, a kind of mercy that doesn't require your vigilance, your prayers, or your perfection. You were protected not because you asked the right way, but because it was a sign, because your journey mattered beyond that moment, because something ahead of you required you whole, steady, and unbroken. So heaven handled what you couldn't see while you focused on what you could. Even now, there are things you'll never fully understand about what didn't happen. Near misses that never registered as danger. Doors that never opened, and thank goodness they didn't. Chosen one, trust that what you didn't see was still handled. Trust that silence doesn't mean absence. Trust that just because you weren't aware doesn't mean you weren't guided. Let me ask you this gently. How many times have you looked back and realized, if that had gone differently, my life would have shattered? And how many times did clarity arrive only after distance? That's not coincidence. That's coverage. Rest in that truth. You are not navigating this life alone. You never were. And even when you weren't watching, someone was. Chosen one, silent separations rarely come with closure. They don't sit you down, explain themselves, or ease you gently into understanding. They simply end. One moment you are emotionally invested, attached, identifying yourself through a connection, a place, a plan, and the next it is gone. No final conversation, no clean explanation, just space. And that space fills with fog. Questions circle endlessly because the mind is trying to create meaning where meaning was intentionally withheld. This is why sudden endings leave confusion instead of clarity. Your heart was still present when the situation was already being removed. Grief sets in not only because you lost something, but because you lost the story you thought was unfolding. You mourn the future you imagined, the version of yourself that existed in that space. And without answers, the pain feels unfinished. Chosen one, have you noticed how confusion hurts differently than rejection? It lingers, it echoes. But understand this, confusion is not a sign that something went wrong. It is a natural response to an unseen rescue. When you are pulled out quietly, your emotions don't get the memo right away. Your spirit moves first. Your life follows. Your mind arrives last. That delay creates emotional dissonance, and that dissonance protects you. If everything had been clear, you might have argued with the ending. You might have tried to negotiate your way back. Letting go without answers was necessary because answers would have kept you emotionally tethered. You would have analyzed every detail, replayed every moment, searched for fault, yours or theirs. Instead, the lack of information forced release. Painful release, yes, but clean. A cut that healed instead of reopening. Ask yourself honestly, if you had known everything, would you have truly let go? After quiet removal, an identity shift begins. You no longer know exactly who you are without what you lost. That can feel disorienting. But that emptiness isn't absence. It's space. Space for recalibration. Space for a self that was buried under compromise, overextension, or survival. The separation didn't just remove something from your life. It revealed parts of you that had been silenced. This is also the moment where the mind tries to romanticize the past, to soften the truth, to remember only the good. But chosen one, be careful not to glorify what you were protected from. The peace you feel now, even mixed with sadness, is evidence. The quiet is proof. What left had the potential to cost you more than you realize. So I ask you gently, Who are you becoming without what you lost? And what kind of life is finally possible now that confusion is fading into clarity? The separation was silent, but the purpose behind it was not small. Chosen one, there is a moment that arrives quietly, but when it does, everything rearranges inside you. It's the moment clarity finally catches up to distance. Not all at once, not dramatically, but softly, like light filling a room you've already left. You're no longer standing in the middle of the storm defending what hurt you. You're far enough away to see the shape of it, and suddenly what once felt cruel begins to feel precise. At first, the distance felt empty. You questioned it. You replayed memories, searched for meaning, wondered if you misunderstood the ending. But time has a way of doing what emotions cannot. It slows everything down. It removes urgency. And in that stillness, truth begins to surface. You start seeing the full picture only after the danger has passed, because while you were inside it, survival blurred your vision. Tell me, chosen one, how could you have seen clearly while you were still trying to hold everything together? Time reveals what emotions once hid. When you were emotionally invested, your heart protected what your spirit was trying to release. You made excuses. You minimized red flags. You called imbalance love, tension, growth, exhaustion, commitment. But now with space between you and the past, the patterns begin to appear, not to shame you, but to free you. Patterns you couldn't see while inside them because your loyalty was louder than your intuition. You begin to notice how often you felt drained, how much effort it took to stay aligned, how peace only arrived after the separation, not before. This is the moment hindsight becomes holy. You realize the ending didn't break you. It preserved you. It removed you from cycles you were normalizing. It interrupted paths that would have slowly eroded your self-worth. And suddenly, confusion gives way to understanding. But gratitude doesn't rush in. It arrives slowly, gently. First, there is relief, then clarity, and then gratitude so quiet it almost feels like reverence. Gratitude for what didn't happen, for the versions of pain you were spared, for the weight you are no longer carrying. You don't celebrate the loss, but you honor the protection behind it. Can you feel that shift happening now? Chosen one, this is when you understand the deepest truth. What you call loss was actually preservation. You weren't taken away from something good. You were removed before something good was lost within you. Your peace, your identity, your future. The ending didn't come to punish you. It came to protect what you hadn't fully become yet. So ask yourself this: if that situation had continued, who would you have had to become to survive it? And would that version of you still recognize yourself today? Let the clarity settle. Let the gratitude rise at its own pace. And know this: every step of distance you were given was a gift, one that only makes sense once you're finally safe enough to see it. Chosen one, there comes a chapter in your life where guidance no longer announces itself with signs, symbols, or loud reassurance. Not because you are abandoned, but because you are trusted. This is the season where you learn to walk without needing constant confirmation, where every step is not validated by an external signal, yet every step is still held. You may feel the silence more now, but that silence is not emptiness. It is maturity. It is the space where faith deepens beyond dependence. This kind of faith doesn't demand proof. It doesn't insist on guarantees before moving forward. It rests in presence rather than evidence. Proof speaks to the mind, but presence speaks to the soul. And your soul has already learned what your mind is still catching up to. You have been guided before, even when you didn't understand it. So why would that guidance suddenly stop now? Ask yourself, how many times did clarity arrive only after you trusted the movement? Staying open when the path feels unclear is not weakness. It is spiritual courage. It means you allow unfolding instead of forcing outcomes. You listen for alignment rather than chasing certainty. Unseen guidance often speaks through what feels calm instead of what feels urgent, through peace rather than pressure, through what gently fits instead of what demands constant effort. Have you noticed how your spirit now resists chaos, even when chaos once felt familiar? Rebuilding trust with your inner knowing takes tenderness. There were times you doubted yourself, times when confusion made you question your discernment. But hindsight has already shown you the truth. Your intuition did not fail you. Fear simply spoke louder for a while. Returning to trust means remembering how your body felt before your mind intervened. That quiet number, that steady yes, that inner sense that didn't need explanation to be true. As you move forward, you no longer fear sudden endings the way you once did. You understand now that endings are not threats, they are messages. Some endings arrive not to harm you, but to align you. You don't cling to what feels off just to maintain familiarity. You trust that if something leaves, it is making space. This doesn't make you detached. It makes you discerning, grounded, and free. And here is the truth you need to hear, chosen one. You are still being guided, even now, through subtle redirections, through a growing sense of peace, through doors that close quietly and paths that open gently. Guidance didn't disappear. It refined itself to match who you are becoming. So let me ask you this. What if you don't need to see the whole road to walk it safely? What if the same unseen hands that guided you out are guiding you forward still? Trust that. Keep moving. You are not lost. You are led.